Good night, good people of Antigua and Barbuda. It is indeed a pleasure to be here this evening to lend support to a brother, Brother Sherfield Boyan. I am convinced, I am convicted that after the next election, I will be sitting next to my good brother and the other members of the United Progressive Party, the rescue team, as we start that process of transforming Antigua and Barbuda once again. As we continue this process of delivering hope and restoring pride to the people of Antigua and Barbuda. Brothers and sisters, there's an old African proverb, where you sit when you're old shows where you stood in youth. This saying is very profound. It reminds me of a famous saying by a Caribbean revolutionary, Frantz Fanon. And according to Fanon, he says, each generation must discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. And so this evening, brothers and sisters, with your permission, I want to spend the few minutes that is allotted to me to speak to the young people of Antigua and Barbuda. And so my question to the young people of this nation is, where do you stand at this critical period in our nation history, when our people are facing the most cruel and barbaric moment in the nation's history? Where do you stand? Do you stand at the sideline and do nothing? Or are you willing to stand in line and defend the people of Antigua and Barbuda and our nation? Where do you stand, young people? There is no doubt that our country needs all of us, young and old, male and female. Our country needs us now more than ever. I would like to tell you a little story that someone reminded me just recently. There was this young lady, young girl, just finished secondary school. And she was asked, are you going to vote in the next election? And she said yes. And then another question was posed to her, which political organization will you vote for? And her simple answer was, the United Progressive Party. She was then asked, why will you vote for the UPP? She said, I benefit from the school meal programs. I benefit from the uniform program. And so I have a duty and a responsibility as a young person in this country to vote for the United Progressive Party. And so I am saying to the young people of this country that you have that patriotic duty. Your responsibility to the people of Antigua and Barbuda is to vote for the United Progressive Party so that we can redeem this small but beautiful nation of Antigua and Barbuda. And that reminds me of some words by our esteemed political leader, Brother Harold Lovell. He penned these words in the manifesto during the last election. He said, Antiguans and Barbudans, your lives and your livelihood and this country's future are in your hands. On the left is hopelessness. On the right is hope, happiness, opportunity, prosperity, and empowerment. That is what the United Progressive Party will do to the young people of Antigua and Barbuda. So young people, we know that you are the leaders of tomorrow. And so you therefore have that responsibility now more than ever to ensure that Antigua and Barbuda is in safe hands. And the only safe hands that this country can be in is when you vote for the United Progressive Party. So remember, refusing to register and to vote is not a rebellion, it is a surrender. And we know what the slogan is: no retreat, no surrender. The battle cry must be no retreat, no surrender. Some four decades ago, I faced the same challenge that young people are facing today. And I answered that call. I answered that duty, that responsibility to stand up and to fight on behalf of the ordinary people of Antigua and Barbuda. And I am calling on the young people today to do likewise, because you must be the change agent. You must bring forth change to Antigua and Barbuda so that we can empower our nation. Finally, I would like to tell you a story about a young man from the South. After the election in 2004, I was called by a sister in the Erlins community, and she said, there is a young man in Erlins who is extremely bright. And she was fearful that that young man, if he did not receive employment opportunities, would start to lime on the street side. And so I called that young man. I asked him a number of questions, took all the details, and fortunately for him and others, at least 3 weeks after, Brother Hilson Baptist called, because he was in the Ministry of Tourism and Foreign Affairs with Brother Harold Lovell. And he said, I am looking for 3 young persons from the constituency to work at the Ministry of Tourism. So we sent the young brother and 2 other females. They went to the Ministry of Tourism. But Mr. Blair, the young person that I'm talking about, he worked in the Ministry of Tourism for some time, and fortunately, he received a scholarship to go overseas to study. He returned to the ministry, but later in life, he decided that he wanted to further his education. So he applied to do a master's degree. But his presentation, his outlook, and his grades at university were so good that he received a full scholarship to do a PhD. I am saying to the young people of Antigua and Barbuda that there are many, many hundreds of young people like my good brother out there, and we have to provide the opportunities for them. The United Progressive Party provided that opportunity in the past and will do so in the future. So there is no other choice, young people, but to support all the UPP candidates throughout the length and breadth of Antigua and Barbuda, because UPP is the right choice. Harold Lovell is the man to lead Antigua and Barbuda, and the Redeem team will dare to ensure that we provide quality education, quality service, because our mantra is service to people rather than the ability to enrich yourself. That is the process, and that is what we're going to do. So I would like to say to the people of Antigua and Barbuda, forward ever, backward never. United Progressive Party, the right choice.